Hey guys, welcome back to A la Une the Arena. Today we have one of our first guests in the show, and he's not new. It's Mr. Wetz. He's not new. It's the same family. How you doing, Mr. Wetz?
Thank you so much, Richie. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on your first episode of the Arena, man.
Yeah, man. It's good to have you. So we're gonna talk today. This is the first episode of the Arena. We're gonna have 3 or 4 different topics. I'm gonna list them right now. We're gonna be talking about the Dallas Mavericks. We're gonna talk about the Bucks and the Giannis. We're also gonna talk about the Lakers. We're gonna also ask Mike. There's 3 top underdogs, the Rockets, and also the question about the Raptors. And to finish the show, we're gonna talk about Chelsea. So yeah, Mike, how's everything going with you?
Everything's fine, man. Everything's fine. I know it's been a few months since we actually linked up, so I'm really happy to be doing this, man. It's good to be talking sports again, man. Glad to see you, bro.
Yeah, let's get it. Sports is back, so we gotta get it going.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, just like I told you guys, this is gonna be the first episode of the Arena, and we're gonna get it going. So Mike, we're gonna get it going right now.
Okay.
First question I have for you for today is. We're going to talk about the Dallas Mavericks. So I'm not sure if you did watch the game versus the Rockets. They ended up losing in the overtime. Actually, they were leading by 13 points going to the fourth quarter. So to you, I have a couple stats for the Dallas Mavericks before I ask you this question. Their turnover rates per game is about 12.9, and turnovers per play is 11.3%. They're sitting at number 3 right now. In terms of scoring statistics, in the first quarter, they averaged at about 30.2 points. Second quarter, 29.5. Third quarter, 29.4. And fourth quarter, it takes a dip in 27.0. And overtime is 0.8. So in the fourth quarter, they are ranked number 18 in terms of scoring.
Okay.
So my question for you is, why is the Dallas Mavericks struggling so much in the fourth quarter?
It's a very good question. And when you ask me that, the first thing that I went to is, well, to answer your first question is like, no, I didn't get to watch the game. I didn't get to watch the game versus the Houston Rockets. But when I came back, I went to watch the highlights, and I didn't know the score, right? All I know is that I saw, Luka balling, James Harden balling. At some point they started double teaming and triple teaming James Harden, and but I didn't know the ending score. But going into the fourth quarter, I saw that Dallas was leading, like you said, and just watching the highlights on YouTube, I was just thinking to myself, okay, how does Dallas lose this game? So I just assumed that they were going to lose the game. No matter how well they were balling, everything to me, when you ask that question, I just gear towards Luka Doncic, right? He's a second-year player, but even though he's a second-year player, he's a top 5 MVP candidate for the season, in my opinion, and he's the Dallas Mavericks' best player. I looked up some stats for Luka as well, just like you did to see why Dallas may be losing those games in the fourth quarter and why they're struggling in the fourth quarter. And it was interesting. It's an article. I think the website is called Fansided, if I believe. It's an article that was published about 3 months ago. But the season was already done, so they probably had enough time to compile data to do their research on Luka. But what happened is that when you're looking at it, Luka's productivity dipped significantly in the fourth quarter. And as I went back to watch his stats for the game, I think he shot 12 for 27 from the field or something like that. If you could pull it up, just to just so I could be accurate and not give false information out there.
Like in the whole game itself, or just like a
no, just in overall, throughout the whole game, I think he shot I'm pretty sure he shot 27 times. I just don't know how many field goals he actually made.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it for you.
Mm-hmm. But what happened is that, like, in the first quarter, like, Rick Carlisle fixes his minutes for Luka Doncic in a specific way, and it almost plays out the same way every game for Luka. Like, he plays about 10 minutes in the first quarter, 7 minutes in the second, about 10 minutes in the third, and then by the end of the third, he takes his break, and he goes into the fourth quarter, like, 6-7 minutes left into the fourth quarter to finish out the game. His field goal percentage is extremely high in the first and the third quarter, but in the fourth quarter, his production dips significantly. He shoots about 23% from the three-point line in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, and what I could say about that is his preferred shot. His preferred shot is the step back three. So, what could possibly happen is that, as the game goes on, there's a little bit more fatigue that happens with him. And he probably loses some of the energy on his legs on some of these shots. And yes, I know, we've seen Luka Doncic ball out in the clutch in the fourth quarter and put the team on his back and win. But sometimes, it's not as efficient as you might think that it is. So his efficiency dips significantly in the fourth quarter, and I think that's one of the reasons why his team struggles in the fourth quarter, because the ball is in his hands to finish the game. So for me, what I would like to see from a second-year player like Luka is spread the ball a little bit more around with his teammates, especially if the attention is geared more towards him. I think there are some videos that are geared towards him playing in the fourth quarter where teams know that it's going to be him holding the ball, and they kind of collapse the defense. It's like three in the back, one person in the post, two on the wings, and they start playing basically like a zone defense with two men on top. When the pick and roll comes, they try to either force him into going into the paint and doing those tough layups or kickouts. But a lot of times he doesn't kick out. He just does those step back threes. Exactly. So I think that's where they struggle. And, again, he's a second-year player. I think that's going to, improve along the way. So I'm not too concerned about them. But the thing is that they do have a real good shot about, playing and going deep into the playoffs this year. So I understand where the concern comes.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Mike, he did shot 11 out of 27.
11 to 27.
Free goal, and 1 out of 9 3-points, and I believe he made 5 free throws out of 9. Interesting stats also about him in the last 5 minutes of the quarter plus overtime. Luka ended up with 2 points on 1 and 7 shooting, 1 rebound and 3 turnovers, versus James Harden with 13 points, 3 to 4 shootings, and 7 rebounds and 1 turnover. When you say fatigue, for a player let's compare with James Harden, because James Harden's having as much minutes as Luka Doncic, and he's doing those step backs also. I know James Harden is offensive power. How is the fatigue hurting Doncic more than Harden? Because Harden is actually generating more points as the game is ending.
Yeah,
is it fitness?
It's fitness for sure. That's a major part of it, because even coming into the NBA, one of the major concerns about Luka Doncic was about his fitness and his durability. Would he be able to sustain the grind of an NBA season? Because he looked like he's unathletic. He looked a little pudgy in the face before he came into the league, and people were clowning him for that. He's not super ripped or that type of thing. But he worked on his body, and especially after the first year, he came into this year stronger. But coming into the bubble, even his NBA trainer said, not his NBA trainer, but his trainer said Luka's nowhere near where he was when he was in midseason form, but he still came out and balled pretty well. I'd say he balled significantly well. I was more impressed by Kristaps game than I was with Luka. But yeah, it's a fitness thing. It's a you know, James Harden took care of his body throughout this whole pandemic thing. Like a lot of people were impressed by it. And again, Luka's a second year player. That's one of the things that, you know, I have to chalk it up to. Like, he still has to figure out how to, you know, conserve energy. Like, you know, going into the fourth quarter and not go full throttle. And it's two different players at the end of the day, man. You know, it's white and black, no pun intended. Yeah, James Harden is just like in a league of his own.
Different animal.
Yeah.
All right, that was a nice one. That was a nice take. So we're moving to the next topic. We're gonna talk about the Bucks. Recently, you know, like the Bucks, they're able to beat the Celtics. I have a question for you though.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Bucks are a real threat to win the championship? And also, is Giannis back to after his 36 points? Do you think he's back to the very top list, like number one in the MVP list?
Okay, to answer your first question about the Bucks being, you know, like a premier threat to win the championship, yes, I absolutely do think so. Eric Bledsoe didn't play last game, or Pat Connaughton, and I'm extremely impressed by the way Giannis came back, man. Like, he looked like he didn't miss a beat. Like, his shot was falling. Like, I love Giannis, man, and I would love him to win MVP so much. He's my number one to win MVP. But unfortunately, Rich, I think throughout this whole pandemic thing and what happens with you know, the people that actually are going to vote for the MVP award, is the fact that Giannis is a quiet superstar. And LeBron James is very vocal on social justice issues. And I think there's going to be a recency bias. I think the Lakers ended the season before we went into lockdown. They beat the Clippers and they beat the Bucks, where LeBron James looked significantly better than his counterparts, Kawhi Leonard and Giannis. And then the bubble comes back and Lakers play the Clippers again. LeBron James heroics at the end, and he shuts down Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in the fourth quarter to win the game. So unfortunately for me, I think it's going to be like one of those things that he's 35. He's done X, Y, and Z for social justice issues. They're going to be like, no, look how he beat those teams. Unfortunately, because of the recency bias, I think LeBron James is going to win the MVP. Not that he should, because I think Giannis overall throughout the season, Giannis balled out. His team has the best record. He's putting up the most points. Like, it's just, to me, like, you know, Giannis is the man. Like, this is who should win the MVP. But, you know, recency bias, I think LeBron is going to edge it out over him, unfortunately. But yeah, the Bucks are definitely a serious start to win the championship.
All right. Question though, like the last game, Bucks beat the Celtics 119 to 112. Tatum, Jason Tatum, arguably one of the best players in the Celtics right now. The best, most improved players this season. He was balling out before before the NBA had to close because of the pandemic.
Right.
Pandemic. Yeah. He only had 5 points. Do you believe that puts the Bucks ahead of the Celtics? Because if say Tatum was balling out, Celtics could have won that game. Is that still an argument for you?
Yeah, because like I said, to start the segment is, well, not a segment. The topic is Bledsoe or Pat Connaughton didn't play, and those are two major rotation pieces for the Bucks. Yeah, like Tatum's productivity was, you know, nowhere to be found during that game. He was absolutely horrendous. But the other thing that I'll say is that what impressed me so much with Giannis is, I think throughout the pandemic and the lockdown, we, you know, the internet was having fun at the expense of Giannis and Tatum because they couldn't find gyms to play. So I think they spent like a month and a half or something like that without playing any basketball, without even touching a basketball. So that's why I'm so impressed by how Giannis came back. And I think that could factor into why Tatum, like, looks so bad in his first game back. He's probably out of rhythm, especially for, like, I think he's a little bit streaky. I think some Celtics fans would probably concur with that point that I just made, that he's a little bit streaky. He has to find a rhythm, and once he's in that rhythm and he's in his bag, like he's looking like a top 10 player in the league. So, like, once he gets into game shape and like he finds that touch, there's no question in my mind that the Celtics are going to be a threat. But I'm still going to put my money on the Bucks.
Gotcha.
But yeah, because of the fact, like, again, Bledsoe didn't play, and Pat Connaughton didn't play yet.
All right. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Give me your 3 top underdogs to win the championship. And when I say underdogs, like, besides all the noise on the Lakers, Clippers, and Bucks, give me 3 other teams that you think that they're not talking about that can win a championship.
I don't know if they're necessarily underdogs, but to me, I think, because I think pundits have spoken about them. Maybe some teams are more than others, but to me, the first one at the very top of the list for me is the Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat have a serious chance of making it through the Eastern Conference because of their team's versatility. Like, Bam Adebayo playing at the, 4 or 5 position that could handle the ball, that could push in transition. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Nunn. That team, they're well coached. They have great defense, and they have decent offense. So I think they're a serious threat in the Eastern Conference, especially because of the dysfunctionalities of, like, teams like the Philadelphia 76ers. Fire Coach Brett Brown. He doesn't know how to lead. So that's the number 1 on my list. Number 2 on my list would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think people probably laugh at that take, but I seriously think nobody wants to play them in the playoffs because it's going to be a rough matchup. Floor General Chris Paul is leading that team like, nobody's business, like he did with the New Orleans when he was with New Orleans back in the days. They have great defense. What's his face came back from a 2-year absence. Not when playoffs comes, I don't know if he's going to be a factor, but he came back. He still provides some defense, some solid defense for them. But they have Luguentz Dort, athleticism. They have shooting, and again, Chris Paul. Like, so late in his career, leading that team. I think that team is a team to look at come playoff time. And number 3, I want to put the Celtics in there, but I don't think the Celtics are necessarily an underdog, especially with how Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum has, they exploded onto the scene this year even more. Out of respect, out of sheer respect, like, I cannot not put the Toronto Raptors. I cannot not include them in that top 3. I think the Toronto Raptors, they proved it again last night. Yes, again, this was like basically a brand new mini season, Richie. But they came out and they balled out versus the Lakers, man. They still have Pascal Siakam, who they refused to include in a trade for Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Kyle Lowry looks very good. Also impressed by how he came back and he's still in game shape. They have a champion. They have a champion in Marc Gasol, all NBA center still, Serge Ibaka, and they're exceptionally well coached as well with Nick Nurse, man. So Yes, they lost their robot cyborg Kawhi Leonard. Maybe though you'll probably see them going back to their old ways and being a little flustered when it comes to playoff time. But LeBron James isn't in the Eastern Conference anymore. So who are they going to be afraid of? Giannis. We all know Giannis's Achilles heel. I think they could, game plan for that, and they still beat him last year. So that's my final pick to round up my 3 picks. As far as underdogs for the NBA championship.
Perfect. Toronto Raptors though, like where I was just gonna ask you a question about it. Can they do a second peat?
I want to say yes. Yes.
I'm not sure if you've seen the fourth quarter that Lowry had. It's not like the most perfect. He was so composed.
Exactly.
He looked so composed against a team that the Lakers, like, they have like a floor general as well, LeBron James and everything. They added to the team. You've seen how they played. They're so composed. Can they do a second peat?
I want to say yes, but I don't think so. I don't think so. And why say no is the fact that outside of who they had in the finals last year, Richie and Kawhi Leonard, I don't think they have somebody proven on that stage anymore on that team. Yes, Pascal Siakam is he's going to keep blossoming into maybe a perennial all-star. I think that's what Masai Ujiri hopes that he'll become. But when it comes to like crunch time, like in the playoffs, I don't think they have that player right now, unfortunately. Maybe they could overcome it with team basketball, which is what Nick Nurse has been doing throughout the year with that team. And not Kawhi Leonard, and Kyle Lowry leading the group with Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, that type of core. But unfortunately, no, I don't think so. Like you need that like top 10 player, like come playoff time to get you out, like in the fourth quarter, to get you those games, like come fourth quarter time. So that's why I don't think so.
All right. Final question for the NBA. The Houston Rockets from the West. Everyone's talking about the Lakers, the Clippers. Where does the Rockets stand? Like, can they make an upset and get to that final?
Richie, you know what I think, man? I think right now, yes, I think we said it last year and the year before that for the Houston Rockets. Well, maybe not the year before, but when Kevin Durant went down, I think we definitely said it. I think this might be the best year for the Houston Rockets to win an NBA championship. I think like you've seen it with the way James Harden came back. James Harden is a cheat code. I think this is like the best era suited for him. He's just basically every time he steps on the court on an NBA floor, he's playing street ball. Like James Harden is not playing NBA basketball. He's just playing street ball. He's playing 1-on-5. You come guard me. I'm going to cross you over. I'm going to make you look bad on TV. I'm going to the hoop. I'm shooting step back threes. Look, I'm disrespecting you all day, every day, and I'm gonna score 45 or 50 points every night, and there's nothing that you could do to stop it. But what's interesting is that we just came from a 4-month layoff. He's probably in the best shape that he's been in the last 3 years. They're only playing 8 games until the playoff starts. There should be no question of fatigue for James Harden or Russell Westbrook at this point. Russ already rehabbed. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Russ already rehabbed and everything. And so yeah, I think this is the absolute best time for them to win an NBA championship. And any team that goes against them in the first round, I think they're slotted at 5th right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think they're slotted at 5th. But if they go to if they go up towards 3rd, let's say they figure out a way to finish 3rd, and now you're essentially playing the Lakers in the second round. I don't think the Lakers want that heat, man. I don't think they want it. So yeah, it's gonna be funny to see, man. It's gonna be funny.
final question, which is in the soccer topic right now.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the ending season of the Chelsea. Yesterday they lost the FA Cup to Arsenal, I believe 2-1. And what's your take on the ending of Chelsea? Like the ending of the season, like took a dip. Like what's your opinion about it? What do you think about that?
For a team that seemed like for a while they were going to end up as the as the number three. There's third best, well, not third best team, but in terms of points, they finished third on the table behind Liverpool and City. It's a terrible ending of the year for Chelsea, man. Just absolutely terrible. Not only that you lose your spot at 3 or 4, but you almost ended, out of a Champions League spot. Thankfully, you were able to beat, Wolves at the end of the season. Manchester United finished as the number 3 on the table. But you went to the FA Cup final, played Arsenal. Your only shot at a trophy this year. Look, no disrespect to Frank Lampard. He did a phenomenal job this season with the team, especially the way the team started during the year. I think Manchester United beat them 4-0 opening day. It was either 3-0 or 4-0, and we didn't know where Frank Lampard was going to direct this team. They lost the final. And they lost Christian Pulisic to a bad injury. I haven't checked up any updates, but to me it looks like a hamstring tear, the way that he was crying. So you lose probably your second best player or third best player, who generated so much offense for you this season. And you're kicking off your season, the new season in 6 weeks, and you still have a Champions League game to play against Bayern. Not that means anything because I don't think there's going to be any comeback for Chelsea, but it's a terrible way to end the year for them, man. Absolutely terrible. I felt bad for them watching that game, honestly.
Yeah, they were the favorite to win against Arsenal. And for Pulisic's injury, it's a hamstring strain.
Okay, thankful. Thank
God. He's gonna have more scanning. But he's most likely they already ruled him out of the game against Bayern Munich.
Yeah. Thankfully, it's not a tear because I think a tear would probably put him out for maybe 3 months. So
it's probably going to end the season.
Yeah. So hopefully he's back, for the beginning of the new season. But it was just like a case of bad luck for them when especially. Pulisic had a great shot at goal as well on that play where he pulled the hamstring, and you just look at him going down, and that's basically the season for Chelsea. You get nothing, you end up 4th, you have your manager cursing Jurgen Klopp and his staff on the sideline because he's frustrated, and it was just a poor way to end the season for Chelsea, unfortunately.
Yeah, but they're gonna have a more capacity next year. Timo Werner and name again.
Kai Havertz.
No, Kai Havertz not.
Hakim Ziyech.
Yeah, Ziyech. Mm-hmm. They want to get Kai Havertz, and they also want to get Jimenez from Atletico Madrid for the defense.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see for next year. They're gonna have capacity next year.
Right.
Well, that was it for today. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mike, for participating in the first episode of The Arena.
No problem, man. This was fun.
Yeah, we're going to have more coming up. Thank you, guys. I'm going to give you all my information about the subscription for YouTube. And, yeah, thank you again, Mike. Appreciate it.
No problem, brother.
All right, man. Peace.